Hi, everyone. Welcome to chapter 13. Today, we're going to look at personal financial management, and we'll begin with the time value of money. So we're going to be talking about the time value of money in this section. So let's look at what we're going to be going over today. We are going to be examining the meaning of interest. So we're going to have interest. We're going to talk about simple interest, and we're going to have a formula for that. We are going to also determine the future and present value. We're going to look at compound interest. We're going to find effective annual yield, and we're going to use the rate of inflation to compare the values over time. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to present a list of formulas that you will be able to use to calculate different things like interest, simple interest, future present value, compound interest, and effective annual yield. So let's begin by defining what is interest. So if we borrow an amount of money today, but we will repay it larger amount later. So we've all used our credit card. We've all used, let's say if you purchased a car and you owe the car, you're going to have to pay interest eventually. So the amount of interest will increase over time. So the money of the loan or a deposit is called the principal amount, whereas the interest is computed is only a rate. It's only a percent of an interest. So the rate of this interest can be assumed to be annually. So for example, if you have a credit card, your interest rate will increase a 10% or 15% every year. So again, annually. Now, interest is calculated only on a principal. So if you're only calculating on a principal amount, that is called simple interest. But if your interest is calculated on the principal and any previous interest, that's called a compound. So there's two types of interest. We're going to look at simple interest. This is when you're looking at only the principal, and versus a compound. So a compound interest is when we are taking the principal plus any other interest. So it's an accumulation of more than one principal. Now, there is a formula on how to calculate simple interest rates. So if P stands for the principal, R is the annual interest rate, and T is the time. Now we're going to be calculating the simple interest rate as the multiplication between P times R times T. The principal amount times the rate amount times the. So we are interested in looking at example 1 that's asking us to calculate simple interest. So if the simple interest take to borrow, this is how much it borrowed. My P is 4,800 for 6 months. Well, T is 6 over 12, because if it's yearly, this is going to be 1/2, 6 months. At R, the rate is 7%. So we always have to change it to 0.07. We have to change it to decimal. So the interest is going to be calculated by 4,800 times 1/2 times 0.07. So when we're punching this on our calculator, and you can use calculate 84, then you can use your calculator and round to 2 decimals. So there it is, 4,800 times 0.07 times 6 over 12, we get 168. So the interest that needs to be paid is 168 additional dollars. So when you're going to pay it off, it's going to be the amount that you borrowed plus that interest. Now, what does it mean when you have a future and a present value? In the last example, the borrower would have to repay the principal amount plus the interest, which is now $49.68. So it's going to increase by $168. So the total amount repaid is called the maturity value or the future value. The original price denoted P to be as the present value. So the present value is the principal amount, how much you borrowed initially, whereas the future value is how much you need to repay, which is the principal plus the interest. And that is the future value. Because your future value will be more, again, it's either the future value or the maturity value. They are synonyms, they are interchangeable. Now, the future value for an interest is if you've calculated P borrowed for T years, and if you're wanting to calculate just the future value, there's a formula for that, and that's denoted A. So A is going to be denoted, the future value is going to be P times the principal times 1 plus the rate times the time. So let's write this down. We will need this formula to calculate the future value. So let's look at this one. Find the future value of $468 in 8 months if the annual is 12%. So the rate is 12%, which is going to be 0.12. The principal amount is $460, and the time is 8 over 12 months. We can reduce, but at the end of the day, we want to find A, which is the future value. It's going to be 460 times 1 plus 0.12 times 8 over 12. So I'm going to punch this on my calculator. So if I go to calculate 84, where you guys should have access to that free calculator. So let me project that. So there's my calculate 84. And I want to do, okay, I want 460. So let me put 460 times 1 plus parentheses 0.12 close parentheses times 8 over 12 close parentheses, and that's what I'm going to get, 496.80. So my future value is $496.80. So let's see if that's true. So let's go ahead and project my note right here to verify that our solution is indeed correct. Now, the present value for a simple interest. Now, if you can earn 6% interest, what lump of sum must be deposited so that the value will be $3,500 after 9 months? So now you're looking for how much is the value deposited. So we know, so A is given to be 3,500. T is 9 over 12. Rate is 0.06. So we're interested in finding P, the present value, not the future value, but the present. So how do we find the present? Well, we know 3500 is equal to P times 1 plus 0.06 times 9 over 12. So then P is 3,500 over 1 plus 0.06 times 9 over 12. And that's going to give me approximately, so let's go ahead and, again, let me project my calculator in the screen. It's going to be 3,500, that's my A, divided by parentheses, 1 plus parentheses, 0.06 close parentheses times 9 over 12, close parentheses, and then close parentheses again. That's going to look like 3,349.28. So that's going to be 3,349.28. And that should be my present value or my P.